you're doing everything for your aging parents and your siblings aren't. Let me say something that most people are scared to admit. Most caregiver stress is not coming from mom or dad. It's not even coming from the doctor's office. A lot of caregiver stress comes from your own family. And if you're watching this right now, there's a good chance that you are the sibling that handles everything. You're the one making the appointments, you're the one answering the phone, and you're the one picking up the medications. You're the one leaving work early, you're the one sitting in hospital rooms all night, you're the one trying to remember what the nephrologist said, what the cardiologist said, what the neurologist said, and what medication changed 3 weeks ago. Meanwhile, everybody else has opinions, but somehow nobody else has responsibilities. If that sounds familiar, this video's for you. Today we're talking about why caregiving causes so much family conflict, the 5 roles siblings normally fall into when a parent gets sick, and most importantly, how to stop carrying the whole family on your back. And trust me, by the end of this video, you're probably going to recognize at least one person in your family, maybe even 5. If you're new here, I'm Erica, the neighborhood NP, also founder of Care Angel LLC, and I work with families every day trying to navigate their family's care plan in this ridiculous healthcare system. And while people think that my job is about dialysis, medications, kidney disease, lab work, a huge part of my job is helping families navigate what happens when an aging parent suddenly needs some more support. Because here's the thing, a medical diagnosis affects one person, but caregiving affects the whole family. And sometimes that's where the real crisis begins. I've watched daughters break down crying in clinic parking lots. I've watched sons try to juggle their career while managing mom's health care. I've even watched families stop speaking to each other over healthcare decisions. Not because they're bad people, but because nobody prepared them for this season in life. Caregiving doesn't create family problems. It exposes the ones that were already there. Let me say that again. Caregiving does not create family problems. It exposes the ones that have been sitting under the surface for years. Old resentment, childhood roles, favorite child dynamics, control issues, unspoken expectations. The moment mom gets sick, it all comes rushing back. Think about it. Most families spend decades never discussing aging. Nobody talks about who will manage appointments. Nobody talks about who will handle finances. Nobody talks about what happens if dad develops dementia. Nobody talks about what if mom can't drive anymore. So when a crisis happens, somebody has to step up. And usually that somebody is the most responsible child. The daughter, the nurse, the oldest child, the one who lives the closest, the one who handles everything anyway. And before they know it, they're carrying a second full-time job. Except nobody calls it a job. They call it helping. But let's be honest, when you're managing medications, appointments, labs, transportation, insurance issues, hospitalizations, specialists, and daily needs, that is work. Real work. Let's talk about the 5 sibling roles I see quite often. Comment below and tell me which one sounds familiar. Number 1, the default nurse. This person knows everything. Every medication, every diagnosis, every doctor's appointment, every hospitalization, every insurance issue. This person can tell you mom's blood pressure from last Wednesday. The problem is that everyone assumes she'll keep doing it because they're good at it. And unfortunately, the better they are at it, the more that gets dumped on them. The default nurse becomes trapped by competence. The reward for being responsible is often more responsibility. I know, sucks, right? Number 2, the PR sibling. Now listen, don't get mad, but you know who I'm talking about. Exactly who I'm talking about. This is the sibling posting inspirational quotes about the family, the sibling posting Mother's Day tributes, the sibling telling everybody how much they love mom, but when mom needs a ride to the doctor, guess who stops answering? Complete silence. When paperwork needs to be completed, silence. When someone needs to spend 6 hours in the ER at night, silence. They're excellent at public relations, not so good at actual caregiving. Number 3, the busy achiever. This sibling is successful, important, booked and busy. I got so much going on. I've got to work, or I'm traveling. My schedule is so crazy. And maybe that is true. But eventually, the caregiver starts to wonder why everyone else's life matters except theirs. Because somehow they're expected to sacrifice everything while everyone else protects their time. Number 4, the out-of-state consultant. And actually, I used to be her, and this is the sibling that has a lot of opinions. And I do mean lots. They call after every appointment. They question every decision. They have suggestions for everything. But somehow, those suggestions never involve them doing anything. They'll tell you what mom needs. They just won't make it happen. Number 5, the ghost. And this one really hurts because this sibling just disappears. They aren't around for appointments, the hospitalizations, the falls, the medication changes, the sleepless nights. But somehow, when discussions about money, property, or inheritance happen, they reappear like magic. And that's often when years of resentment explodes. Now let's talk about something uncomfortable. Sometimes caregivers become angry, not because they don't love their parent, because they're exhausted. And that's a difference. And when you're carrying everything along, resentment just builds. You resent your siblings, you resent the healthcare system, you resent your employer, you resent your schedule. And eventually, if you're not careful, you will start to resent the parent whom you love so much and trying so hard to help. That does not make you a bad person. It makes you human. I need somebody to hear that. Being overwhelmed does not mean that you love your parent any less. It means you're carrying too much. I've seen daughters show up to appointments with binders, lists, questions, medication logs, blood pressure logs, care plans, everything organized. And then I'll ask one simple question. Do you have any siblings? And the look on their face immediately tells me everything. Because immediately they will either start laughing or start crying. And sometimes both. And that's when the real story comes out. I've been doing this by myself. I haven't had a day off and I don't know how long. My brother lives 10 minutes away. And my sister, she says she's too busy. I don't really know how much longer I can do this. And honestly, that conversation happens way more than people realize. Now let's talk solutions. Because the thing that I don't want is for you to leave this video and feel validated, but still have no solutions, but still stuck. First, stop hinting. Start assigning. Most caregivers say things like, I'm overwhelmed, I'm exhausted, I need help. And while those statements are true, they don't create action. Instead, try, can you take mom to all appointments this month? Can you handle prescription refills? Can you pay for housekeeping twice a month? Specific requests get better results than vague frustration. Second, put everything in writing. Create one document, appointments, diagnoses, medications, allergies, tasks, responsibilities, deadlines. Because when everything becomes visible, people finally see the entire workload. Third, hold the meeting. And we can have all the talks for encouragement and support and tools and tricks, but if you are not able to sit them down and at least try to have a conversation, all of this is in vain, and that is of no benefit to you. And don't wait to hold that meeting until after you're already burnt out. Not after you're angry, not after you've had a breakdown, but now. Get everybody together, and I don't care how you do it. In person, Zoom, phone, group text, whatever works, and explain exactly what's happening. Not emotionally, factually. Here's what mom needs, and here is what I'm doing. And here is what I cannot continue to do alone. Fourth, play to their strengths. Not everybody has to do the same thing. One sibling can handle finances. One would then be handling the appointments. One handles transportation. One manages communication. The goal isn't equal task. It's shared responsibility. Fair does not mean everybody does the same thing. Fair means nobody carries everything. Now here's the hard truth. Sometimes none of this works. Sometimes siblings still won't help. Sometimes they won't even show up. Sometimes they will not change. And sometimes they simply aren't capable. And this is where many caregivers get stuck because they spend years waiting for people to become who they wish they were. Meanwhile, life keeps moving. Mom keeps aging. Dad keeps declining, and the crisis keeps growing. And at some point, you have to stop waiting for rescue and start building a plan around reality. Not hope, but reality. That may mean hiring help. That may mean adult day programs. That may mean assisted living. That may mean bringing in outside professionals. And I know some people feel guilty hearing that. But listen to me carefully. You are not required to destroy your health, finances, marriage, career, and future to prove that you love someone. Love and limits can exist together. If nobody has told you lately, let me be the one to say it. You're doing more than people realize. You're carrying more than people see. And you're stronger than you give yourself credit for. But strength isn't carrying everything forever. Strength is recognizing when the current plan is no longer sustainable. Strength is asking for help. Strength is setting boundaries. Strength is creating a better system. And if you're the default caregiver in your family, I want you to know this. You were never supposed to do this alone. If this video felt like I was describing your family group chat, I want you to comment below and tell me which sibling role showed up in your family. Was it the default nurse, the PR sibling, the busy achiever, the out-of-state consultant, or the ghost? Also, make sure you grab my caregiver resources below. I created them specifically for caregivers trying to navigate family dynamics, medical decisions, and the overwhelming reality of caring for an aging parent. Make sure you subscribe for more videos on caregiving, aging parents, family dynamics, healthcare navigation, and how to survive this season without losing yourself in the process. And remember, taking care of your parent should not require sacrificing your entire life. I'm Erica, the Neighborhood NP, and until next time.